So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So that's my fault. Chinese name always something confuse all of you. That's my fault. But first of all, my name is Chen, and I grew up from China. So I have no neighbors like Elon Musk. It's really pity for me. But first of all, I just want to share something about but first of all, I just want to share something about Huawei. So because Huawei internally, we have different business. Like we have a traditional business, telecom operators. And also we have like a consumer business, like our mobile phone, laptop, such kind of thing. But today, the people in Huawei, we are sitting here, actually, we are coming from Huawei, we call it the EBG, Enterprise Business Group. And all of us focus on the banking industry. And actually for Huawei, we've been in banking industry for over 30 years. Especially, I think, for the last decade, we have many experience to help our customers, banking industry, to do the so-called digital transformation. And before I give dive into my session, I just want to share all of you a story. That is around 2 years ago. One of my friends just take me, driving car to somewhere. And there's traffic light, right? When we stop there are some beggars. They just ask, cash from us. And then my friend asked me that in China, is there a similar thing? When you're walking in the street, there are still some, beggars ask you for some cash. I told him, definitely, in China, some of them, beggars. But the behavior is totally different. Like here, the local beggars, you just, standing there, ask you for cash, but in China, they just ask you to scan their QR code. So, this is quite different. Only behavior very different. So what is driven for? This is something like the power of the technology, of the so-called digital transformation. And from the year 2019, the first time when I came here, I transferred from China HQ Shenzhen to here. So I think, also very similar thing, very amazing thing here, not only South Africa, but the whole continent. So most of the bankers, you want to do something different, to do something like a digital transformation, aggressive. So today I just want to share some very on-the-ground experience, Huawei, how we help, and what we've done to help our banking customers to do the digital transformation. Because we have so many years, on-the-ground experience. Of course, there are a lot of lessons learned for Huawei to share with you, but I think there is one thing is very, very important, because there are so many vendors, right, in the industry. But I think during the journey of the banking industry to do the transformation, you really need a partner. And I think that's why Huawei, we are here. So today I just want to share something based on that. This slide is kind of like the whole trend of the banking industry. It's quite clear that the banking industry is moving quickly, from the traditional to the mobile app and to the so-called all scenario finance. This is something in the new era, we call it like a bank 4.0. And two directions is quite clear for the new era of the bank 4.0. And the first direction is that the banking service is focused on the human, the people lifestyle, and based on the daily behavior. And the banking just want to build a platform to want to make the customers to enjoy the services not only from the banks themselves, but as well as from third parties. This is one direction. And second direction is quite interesting. The banking is more and more clear, I think. The banking, you would like to want to be the platform. And based on platform, you not only want to connect to different people to see direction, to see market, as well as to be market. This is to see, to be, and based on the very common banking as a platform such kind of fundamental layer. And based on that, I just want to share some very interesting, because today seems everyone talking about the digital transformation, but before transformation and after the transformation, there are several things. It's quite clear, I think, and also very interesting. The first one is that the traditional way or traditional business for the bank, maybe you're focused on the banking card, right? Because card everywhere. But now more and more bankers realize that you need to transform from the banking card to the mobile app. Actually, in China, such kind of mobile app, we call it like a super app. The super app, like real platform, you can do almost everything. Like in China, the only thing when you're walking on the street, the only thing you take is a mobile app. Of course, you can add, install the super app from the fintechs like Alipay, like WeChat Pay. But of course, you can also install some bank's mobile app. The bank's mobile app also like similar functions like Alipay. This is a super app. They build their own closed ecosystem. And the second thing is that traditionally the banks, you're focused on the customer. And when before the customer uses banking services, you need open account or something. But nowadays, because everything, or almost everything is based on mobile app, super app, actually, when you use your super app, you do not need to open account with a bank. You just log in and you can enjoy the services from the super app. Because such kind of super app, not only for the banks, like financial services, loan, like account services, payment, something, but as well as based on the super app, you can enjoy the services from third parties, hotel, traveling, like a merchant, right? Similar, such kind of thing. And of course, traditionally, the banks focused on the purely the traditional banking transaction payment, as I mentioned earlier. But nowadays, it's just focused on the customer experience, focused on the digital journey. Sorry. And of course, because the IT system is very deeply related with a bank's business, so traditionally the IT system, the architecture is centralized and closed. But nowadays, more and more banks, they go to the open and agile-based open banking. And maybe the last one is quite interesting because traditionally the banks, maybe most of the banks, you focused on the asset. This is the so-called AUM, right? Asset under management. But nowadays, because most of the transactions are from the mobile app, super app, so the banks, you focus more on the so-called MAU. It is monthly active users. Because I think the philosophy behind this is quite simple and direct. That is, when more and more users active and enjoy the banking services, actually the bank can earn more and more money. And during all of this thing, for Huawei, today I just want to share 5 different areas that how and what we've done to help our customers for the digital transformation. The first one is a mobile service, like super app. And the second one is a new core banking system. This is a new digital core banking system. It's quite different with like a legacy, core banking system. And the middle one is a new architecture like a cloud, play more and more important role to support the bank's business. And the fourth one is we call it the new data, architecture or data lake platform. This is because the data for the bank is really, more and more important. And most of the banks you regard like you take the data as an asset. But before that, you need to build such kind of system, and based on system, you need to build your application or something. And the last one we call it like a smart branch, or how to help to improve the customer journeys. And for the following slide, I just want to share with you like a little bit high level about all of them. So for the mobile service, it's quite clear, as I mentioned earlier, that banking you want to play like a banking as a platform. Actually, this is based on that. This is a new era. We call it a platform economy. And the middle part is a bank. And based on the bank super app, you build all of the different ecosystem. And this is just one of the scenario that how to connect like a consumer and merchants. But this kind of scenario, I just want to share, three different services, from the bank. The first one is that banks also break through, like, buying and selling goods, but cashless, right? And the second service from bank is that based on the platform, the bank can provide fundamental services of the bank, like a payment or something. And the third one, I think, is much more important. That is, based on the platform, the banks can provide so-called value-added services, like pay now, buy now, pay later, as well as a loan, financing, or something. Actually, such kind of thing is quite deeply related with a behavior, both consumers as well as merchants. So I just want to share with you one of the cases that Huawei we've done. This is one of the case, one country in Asia. We built this platform for the bank, one of the top bank in the local market of the country, from around 4 years ago. And it's quite interesting that we built two kind of like a super app for the banks. The first super app is consumer super app. The second one is merchant super app. And you can see, based on the super app, the customers can enjoy different services, traditional like fundamental banking services as well as the ecosystem services from third parties. And now the achievement is quite amazing. Just around 4 years, the new customers acquired is around 12 million. And for the merchant, it's around 200,000, such kind of, so many numbers. And of course, it's quite, because all of the system architecture is based on cloud native microservices architecture, so it's quite quickly and agile for the system. Not only like how to do the campaign, the marketing, something just to take around 1 week, as well as the system, the performance, because it's fully distributed. So the TPS is quite amazing during some very peak time, and the number is around 26,000 TPS. It's really huge, right? And based on that, this kind of platform already connect, different scenarios, more than 10 scenarios. And for now, we already connect over 1,000 partners. This is something from the third party. And you can see this is the monthly transaction value is very huge. It's over like $2 million, US dollars. It's very huge. It's a new business. Actually, such kind of activity is a new business for the bank. And the first day I came to this region, I realized, the banking industry of the local the continent, actually they are doing like the similar thing. Actually, for Huawei, like in Kenya, we already do the similar thing. Both like telecom operators as well as the banks in Kenya. We've been there for over 10 years, and we cooperate like M-Pesa for over 10 years. Not sure, ladies and gentlemen, how many of you the M-Pesa, all the system is from Huawei in Kenya. And of course, for top banks in Kenya, we already have them, from around 5 years ago. We have them to do the similar thing in Kenya market. This is the first solution I share with you. And the second one for Huawei, we call it like a new digital core banking system. This one I think is quite interesting, because traditionally the bank's core banking system is so critical that nobody want to change it. But the problem for the traditional core banking system is that it is like the architecture is quite closed, right? And centralized, not distributed. And of course, it's siloed. It's very heavy architecture, and the cost is really high. This is something for the problem, the legacy core banking system. And based on Huawei's practice, we think this is a very urgent. Most of the bankers, they realize that they need to do the transformation from that one to the so-called new digital one. This is also fully distributed and based on cloud native microservice architecture, and the cost is very effective and very agile, right? And of course, because the core banking system is so important, that is based on our experience, it's very hard, like the banks, to do the cut over, in the big bang. One day here, and second day, morning is here. No, maybe it's not smart way. The very common way is that here is the legacy system is here, and new core banking system, we build it. And there's a little bit long time for the two systems coexisting together. And the banks, you do the migration, step by step, from here to here. And also share with you one of the case what we've done in Kenya market. One of the top bank in Kenya. Also from around 4 years ago, we helped them to build the so-called new digital core banking system. The 3 different steps. The first step, we build the digital platform. And based on the digital platform, they have some like micro-saving, loan, functions, as well as the e-wallet. And then based on that, we build capabilities to connect to third-party ecosystem, as well as the next step, just we enhance the capabilities to go to the ecosystem, economy. And of course, because the top bank in Kenya, they just, operation in East Africa, several countries. So the first step they build in Kenya market, and then they just roll out to the neighbor countries, Tanzania, Uganda, several, countries. This is the second solution I just want to share with you. And the next one is because I mentioned maybe many times about the cloud. So for Huawei, also we think that the cloud is definitely the trend for the banks. Actually, for this region, I realize the bankers, you really want to move to the cloud very aggressive. It's open and agile and cloud, from also traditional architecture to the new one, microservice, cloud native, something. And for Huawei, maybe I would like to say that we are one of the top cloud provider in the industry. So our cloud, has several very key features. The first one, our cloud, technology is based on open direction technology. We are based on open stack, but we add a lot of brilliant feature based on the open source version. And of course, we are open, and as well as we provide 2 types of the cloud type, on-premise as well as a public cloud. Because when we talk about the cloud, actually maybe we can move forward to private cloud on-premise, or maybe we go to the public cloud. But for Huawei, we can provide both of them. With the same technology as I mentioned, enhanced based, OpenStack technology. Of course, we have many, practices, not only China. In this region, we have some landed cases in Kenya market, like in Nigeria market, as well as our public cloud. We landed our public cloud in here, Johannesburg, from the year 2018. Next one, I just share something on the data area. And data actually, I think, is very hot, especially for the banking industry, because you have a lot of customer data, something. But maybe the potential problem is that how do you leverage the technology to make your current data into the eyesight. So basically, I think there are several very key trend for the data platform. The first one is that for traditional the data platform, the data area, it is maybe mainly focused on the OLAP scenario. It's not OLTP is OLTP, but data is just like a leverage the EDW, enterprise data warehouse technology, focused on the OLAP scenario. But nowadays there are several key changing based on the data area. The first one is that traditionally, OLAP, now it is OLAP plus OLTP. And the second very major changing is that the data, the volume is really booming. So at least PB level is really huge. And of course, the whole architecture is changing. It's also cloud-based as well as distributed architecture. This is something like based on the practice in banking industry. Some of the good practice, that is the bankers, first of all, they build a data platform, and based on the platform, maybe the first application based on the data platform is that like a customer 360. And based on that, you can do some value-added applications like precision marketing, like a real-time anti-fraud or something. And this is data platform. And of course, because the data is huge, and so many applications, so for the infrastructure, also there are several very key changing. I just want to share two of them. The first point for the infrastructure level changing is that, because this is a cluster. For Huawei, we have the practice to build thousands, even tens of thousands clusters for our customers. So the first one is that how to make the whole cluster system very efficiency. How to split like the computing node and the storage node. This is one thing. And the second thing is that because all the big data platform actually for network, they're based on IP network. But IP network sometimes is not so reliable. So how to make sure the zero data loss for the IP network. So this is something like how to collaborate, the whole cluster system and the network. So for both of them, Huawei, we have very good practices on that. So this slide is like the benefit based on Huawei practice on such kind of data area. The first one is that Huawei, we have like two different kind of physical data platform. One is based on Hadoop, but we also add some very brilliant features on that. This is the second one, we call it like DWS. This is based on like RDBMS based architecture. That is, based on the two different kind of physical platform, we can handle the data like structured, unstructured, semi-structured, all of them. And a very important thing is that although physically we have two different kind of platform, but logically the managed or monitored or operation actually is a logical like a central point of the system. And of course, based on our practice, we think at least we can help our customers for the TCO, for the cost, can reduce around like half, 50%. And of course, for the performance, based on so many like cases and the project, we can do the improvement at least over 30%, and can handle at least PB level the data. The very last solution from Huawei is like a branch or smart branch. So also this area is also quite interesting. And for Huawei, we see two different directions for how the bankers you handle your branch. The first one is that given the pressure of the cost, more and more bankers you want to shut down some of the branch. But for the existing branch, actually, the more and more bankers, you want to make it smarter. So why you do like this? Because for the whole evolution of the branch, you can see the role of the branches are quite different. Because traditionally, the role of the branches is just like a transaction center. Because customers come in, they do transactions. When they do engagement with a banking in the physical branch, they just do transaction, cash in, cash out, payment, transfer money or something. But nowadays, when the customer come in your branch, actually the role of the branches is a service center. The banks just want to do something like a cross-sell. Maybe the product for your cross-sell, not only the bank's product, but as well as some product from ecosystem. So this is the new trend of the role changing. The service like a center, and based on that, you can see that Huawei, we have two different kind of solutions on such kind of area. The first one is that physically we have a smart branch by leveraging some like self-service based kiosk. Something like that to enable the smart branch physically. And the second solution for Huawei practice is also quite interesting. We call it like a virtual branch. It is quite similar like a real branch, but everything is online. Okay. So given the time is very limitation, so this is my last slide. So for summarize, I think Huawei's journey, as I mentioned earlier, we've been for banking industry for over 30 years. So far we served over more than 60 countries and regions globally. And of course, our current customer, the number is over 2,500, including half of the top 100 banks. And here in the local, already we cooperate like FNB, ABSA, some other banks. Stan Bank, I think, on the way. Sorry. And in Nigeria, we have many also like big banks already customer Huawei, Zenith, First Bank, something. And Kenya, we have like a KCB, NCBA, DTB, also top banks in the market. Of course, for Huawei technology, we are very good. Very, very good. I think for cloud, it's just some example. For cloud, we are one of the top provider. And of course, for infrastructure as well as big data or data platform, we are also amazing provider. And of course, so because as I mentioned at the very beginning of my session, we just want to be the partner of our customer. It's just to give you one of the cases. DBS, from very top bank, HQ based on Singapore. So we cooperate with this bank also over 5 years, and we are only the vendor for Huawei, the partner, awarded by DBS, the most innovative partner from DBS. And of course, for Huawei strategy on the banking industry, because for Huawei, we mainly focused on technology. We are good at technology platform. So our strategy on the banking industry, we call it like a platform plus ecosystem. A platform is from Huawei, and the ecosystem, we have many different kind of like ISV partner. We just want to combine with them to build end-to-end solution to deliver digital transformation for our banking customers. And of course, for now globally, we have over 150 ISV partners help us. So behind all of this, we have 3 very key slogan or promotion for our customers focused on the banking industry: smarter and greener, especially together. Actually, together is one of the key message from my session. So working together, we can make it to have the banking customers for the digital transformation. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Another round of applause, please.